Welcome to another episode of Table for Two, and as you can see, I'm joined by Alexandra again. James is still on the mend. He's going to take a few more months before he's fully recovered, but we wish you a very speedy recovery, James, and I'll definitely see you soon. Now we start off our news with Sierra Leone as always. We'll keep it short and sweet because we've got lots of church news to follow. So first of all, we had an Easter barbecue in Sierra Leone at Tower Hill at the Mission. The barbecue was donated last year by Archway Sheet Metal Works. Thank you, Sulla, for that. It's being used constantly when they have big festivals. So we had a barbecue. 200 people were fed. They had chicken, they had other food, they had potatoes, they had bread, they had soft drinks as well. Amongst the 200 were the security guards from the mission. The food was blessed by His Grace Bishop Themistoklis as well, and his sister was there, Deaconess Mary as well, which is wonderful that they've actually been there for one of the barbecues together. And the money for the barbecue, or for the food, was donated by a guy, Kyrie Heracles, who's a chanter at St. Catherine's. And a chance meeting with him last year, we were sitting at a table together. He asked me about Sierra Leone. He happened to have worked in Nigeria at some point, so he loved the story of the mission and the work I'm doing. So he basically paid for the food, the drinks, the charcoal. There was also money left over to give to the needy. So the priest, their Father Sodirios, gave out some money as well to the poor. So that was, I think it was a great Easter story. So when we were all in England having our barbecues for our family, in Sierra Leone, we fed 200 people. Which is, it's a great feeling, very, very great feeling. The work continues in Sierra Leone, obviously. We still have money being sent over for medicine, for school fees. We're sending over clothes, medicines, the usual stuff really. It's never ending for us in Sierra Leone. A quick point to make, this is especially for you, James. Last month, so James mentioned St. George and the Dragon and the princess in the icon. And I questioned whether there was a princess or not. There was, well, there is a princess in some icons. I've seen the princess sitting on the horse with St. George. I've seen the princess standing by a tower at the back. I've even seen the princess as a stone statue. We've spoken to a few priests about this. The princess story predates the actual St. George, but somehow it's all been combined. So read up on it, find out about it. It's quite an interesting story. So that's, yeah, James, I've put the story straight, James, okay? It's just for you. Now, we've had a massive, it's a week, 8 days, 9 days, 10 days. We've had a massive time. I'm just trying to work out because we've been in Scotland, we've been all over the place. But our church news starts with St. Raphael, not the Yorti, which was just a few days ago, but for the Annunciation. So it was just us in the church. Father Bavla was there. The usual congregation was there. And at the end of the service, a lady, Kyria Maria, comes up to me. She goes, "Are you from HellenicTV?" I said, "Well, what do you mean HellenicTV?" She goes, "Table for Two." So she recognised me from the show, which was it was a lovely moment at the end of the service to know that people, I mean, obviously they're watching the show, but actually recognising me and coming up to me and saying "Table for Two." So yeah, there you go. We're kind of getting famous, James. All right, you've got to come back because otherwise everyone's going to be saying to Alexandra now, "Table for Two." Okay. Now, so that was Saint Raphael, the Annunciation. Now that evening, I was invited to the Greek ambassador's residence for Gospende Martiu for the celebration of the Independence Day. So I was there, and I've said it before. I always wonder: am I invited there to take photos, or they want me to take photos, or as a guest? But as His Excellency always says to me, you know, you're here as a guest. But I always take the camera anyway because you never know. I know so many people at these events and they always ask me for photos, so thankfully I had the camera there, and you'll see a few photos popping up behind us as well. Now, then we had Sunday of St. John of the Ladder at St. John the Baptist. So obviously we were together for all these services. It's always lovely going back to St. John the Baptist. It's fairly local to us as well, so lovely church. Lovely priests there, both of them really good guys. They help the community, they go to hospitals, they go to homes, so they do as much as they can for the community. And there was the tonsuring of Alex and David two young, I think they're both Romanian. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing they're both Romanian because they were in Romania for Easter. So they were tonsured, and we've seen them in that church for, I don't know how many years, 5, 6 years now. So they started off as young boys. They're now growing into young men, but it's great to see them develop and move on, and now being actual readers as well, which is really good. Now that evening, we had Great Vespers at All Saints with the Archbishop. Now the Archbishop at St. John the Baptist. Then we saw him in the evening. We've had a whole lot of Archbishop these past few days.
Lent was full of services.
I hope he's not fed up of us yet. Anyway, so we went to All Saints. Father George, who's still serving there. He was due to retire a little while ago, a few years ago, but he's still going. And his wife, Presvidera, is constantly helping Sierra Leone. She will donate so many boxes of sanitary towels, which they need urgently and over in Sierra Leone. So thank you, Presvidera. I probably don't say it enough, but thank you very much for all your support and all your help. So that was All Saints. Now, then we had the Akathist hymn. Where was that? Where was that? Holy Cross,
Holy Cross
with Father Vissarion. This is what it's become like, because we've had 2 services a day sometimes, going from one church to another, one city to another. Trying to remember everything is just so difficult. But obviously Father Vissarion was there. Now there was a young boy who sang the last part of the service. Yeah, did you video it?
Yes, I did.
Oh, good. Well, it's playing behind us at the moment then. I'm taking photos, so I rely on Alexandra to video some of these moments. Now we're rushing through everything because there's literally so much to go through today. Now we had Sunday of St. Mary of Egypt. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. I'll have to check with you everything now. That was at Christ the Saviour in Welling.
It was.
Where we've been several times. Lovely community there. There's Father Thomas, and they're constantly helping Sierra Leone with monetary donations, with clothes, with medicines, with body wash, everything that we need to send urgently.
The Philoptochos is very active, and we are one of their main charities.
And we actually sat with them for once
at
the dinner. So we don't usually get to meet all the Philoptochos, but we had dinner with them, which was I think it was lovely just to meet them personally and say thank you as well. So that's another thank you. This show is going to be full of thank yous, I think, today. So that was Christ the Saviour in Welling. Then we're going to go on our way to where? To North England, Scotland. Before that, now this is where the whole journey starts. It's more of a saga than a journey, more as an odyssey. Now, so we had the mass baptism at 12 apostles. There were, I think, I'm not too sure of the figures, 125 people there, but around the country, 200 in all. Now, these were people of all nationalities. I remember a Venezuelan guy, there was a Chinese guy, an English guy. I mean, it's just a massive, massive list.
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, Ghana. Let's go for it. There's Jamaica, Hungary, Jamaica. It's like there's a generation game. Sorry, you won't know that. We'll find it on YouTube. So there were a lot of nationalities. It was a very emotional day as well.
Absolutely.
Even the priests, some of the priests had tears in their eyes when they saw. I mean, we've had the mass baptism in Sierra Leone, where everyone there, we had 153 in one place last year, but everyone there was from Sierra Leone. This time, it was a diverse crowd. All sorts of nationalities, all sorts of religions had come together to become Orthodox.
And I must say it was much more organized than we have ever seen before.
Yeah, it was. Plus it wasn't raining. We had the rain in Sierra Leone as well.
Exactly.
So Sierra Leone was quite difficult because of the weather. You had the humidity, you had the heat, then it was raining, and we're all outdoors.
Yeah.
This was
on the Saturday of Lazarus. We had a sunny day. They organized it quite nice at 12 Apostles. So the committee there, and also Father Nifon, who organized the group baptism here. We had 6 priests who were doing. It was like you say, like a conveyor belt. So one of them was doing the christening. His Eminence actually did the first 15-20, and then Father Nifon continued. One other priest was cutting the hair, the priest
oil, I won't say which priest it was, cutting the hair, but as I walked past him, he almost cut my hair because he was doing it automatically. He just saw hair in front of him, and I said, "No, Father, I've been done already." And then with him walk on by, that's what it was like. And then we had the service afterwards in the church.
Yeah, so it was because it was integrated with the Divine Liturgy. They had started before the service, so when the moment came for in the Divine Liturgy, all the newly baptized came into the church and occupied the first half of the church. That was very, very emotional.
Yeah.
It really felt like an army of angels.
Yeah, it was a moving
Beautiful.
experience.
Yeah.
Now, from there we started our journey up north. So we started off with a 5.5-hour drive to Keswick, which I was pronouncing Keswick up until the time my colleague said no, it's Keswick. So don't pronounce the W in case you're going to Keswick. So I went to Keswick in the Lake District. Tiny church, smallish community, a diverse community.
Very diverse.
And it was Father Antonios there. Now, Father Antonios, I actually photographed his ordination a few years earlier at St. Bandeleim when he came down with Bishop Raphael.
Indeed, in 2021 as a priest.
Yeah.
And he says he's the last deacon ordained by Archbishop Gregorios and the first deacon, first priest ordained by His Eminence Archbishop Nikitas.
No wonder he was so emotional on the day. I did warn him. I said as a deacon, I said, listen, Father, at some point you're going to cry. The moment he stood in front of the Archbishop, he started to cry at that point. But then we learnt his story. I won't go through his story, but I learnt his story, and I understand why he was so emotional. So that was Father Antonios. And now Father Christodoulos, he's an elderly priest. He was there with Presbytera. He used to serve in Leyland. So we thought when we go to Leyland, I'll see him in Leyland. But he was there in Keswick, and it was wonderful to see him. And I think everyone was quite touched by how Presbytera was helping him with his vestments, getting to get them on as well, because he's quite an elderly man, but he's very, very much loved and very well respected. So it was really good. I mean, it was a blessing for us just to see him. And I've got loads of photos of him from the conferences, the church conferences of 2016 and 2017, where he would always go with Presbytera, which was wonderful. Same with Father Bangradios, he would always go with Presbytera as well. So I've got to know a lot of these priests through clergy conferences. They used to be yearly. COVID kind of stopped that. But yeah, I've always had a bond with a lot of these priests.
It's a real blessing.
And it's something I can't even describe what we go through.
The community there is very special, and we must mention that it was founded by Father John Master.
Of course, yes.
Who started it. I mean, I was really impressed by the story that the people in church were telling us. So he was a deacon, and he was going to be a priest only if he had gathered together a community of at least 10 people.
But how did he do that?
So he went to the fish and chips shops.
Yes, she's Romaine, doesn't know fish and chips.
Fish and chips shops.
But can I just say quickly, a lot of our churches were built on fish and chip shops.
Yes.
And money donation for fish and chip shops. And yeah, so he went to fish and chip shop.
Yeah, he was in search for Cypriots who are already Orthodox.
Yeah.
And one of them, Andoni, was telling me that he still remembers this British deacon coming into his shop and saying this to him, look, let's gather a community. They were going to Leeds and Manchester before, so to the further away cities. And at first, he was reluctant.
Yeah.
Father was a convert, whereas Anthony was a Cypriot who was since forever Orthodox. However, he took his invitation. At that point, Father had a chapel in his loft, which was beautifully painted. So the moment Anthony went into that loft and saw how beautiful everything is, he felt that grace, and in that moment he changed his perception about Father John.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Since then, more Cypriots came together, and now we have Romanian Cypriots, Egyptians there, and so on. And even one of the old Cypriots was telling me that he's now learning Romanian phrases.
Kirillambros,
Yes.
wonderful man. But part of Father John's legacy is what you have
indeed.
here.
This is one of his books, Sacred North. He explored basically Cumbria, Northumberland, Scotland and beyond on the traces of the first Christian missionaries there. And it's absolutely fantastic. He had a photographer with him, and he writes in the book what they've seen together with his Presbytera Jenny. This, by the way, is you can buy it. You can find it on Amazon and so on. He also wrote the living tradition of the saints in the East and in the West, what the saints have to teach us today. So that was absolutely fantastic to see it also on the walls of their hall, of their church hall. His Eminence Archbishop Nikitas, I think he did a wonderful gesture. So Father John Master, unfortunately, has passed in February 2023, and his Presbytera Jenny, according to His Eminence, kept things together immediately after his death. He decorated her during this service. It was probably one of the most emotional bits.
Yeah, a beautiful cross, which, It's very, very, very big honor.
She was also part of the choir. It's a beautiful, it's full of British as well, because we must say that. It's full of British, that church, and the service is in English, beautiful chanting.
Great choir, really, really good chanting. Because as a Greek Cypriot, when I hear chanting in Greek, it's something spiritual. Now when I heard it in English, you could feel it.
Yes.
Actually, you can actually feel it the way I felt it in the Greek church. I felt it in this church. Diverse community. Now, Father Antonius as well, where he goes all the way now.
He has services every Saturday and Sunday, not only in Keswick, but also in Dunblane and also in Inverness, which is like the
furthest point, probably.
Plus, he's a full-time lecturer at the university, Newcastle University.
And he doesn't drive.
Everything by bus and train. Really, really amazing.
And he's a great guy.
The church is also in a very nice place by a river and in the middle of the mountains.
And there's a stream now for the baptisms. They don't have a font as other churches do, or a big bath. There's a stream behind the church, and as the stream flows through, there's a small, like a pond area, and then the stream carries on. That's where they do the baptism. No matter what the weather is, they dip them in the water there, which must be an experience and a half, to be honest.
Absolutely. I think it's just a charming and a beautiful way to see. There's even a little sign, Orthodox Church, in the middle of Lake District. Just fascinating.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So that was our Keswick. Now, from Keswick we had a 3.5 hour drive?
Yes.
Well, it would have been 3.5 hour drive to Dunblane. Now, you can tell by Alexandra's face that something happened. Now, en route, we switched driving. I allowed Alexandra to drive. Now, it wasn't your fault what happened, just to let you know. Now, we go into Scotland, driving on the motorway, and then the battery light starts flashing, then the power steering light comes on, then the ABS light comes on, and I was Googling everything, and it sounds like the alternator or the fan belt or poor connection on the battery.
Speed went to 0.
And then suddenly, thankfully, we were on a part of the motor that had a hard shoulder, which only a small section had that hard shoulder, to be honest. Slightly before, slightly after, would have been stuck, and the car just stopped. Managed to pull it to one side on the hard shoulder, and then I got out the car, and I won't say what I did, but there was a truck across the road, one of those motorway trucks that help people who've been stranded, because there was another car stranded across the road. So I got his attention by running across the motorway. Don't try that, please. Anyway, so when I arrived, got across, thankfully he was laughing, and I was alive. And then I told him what happened. So he said, look, get in my truck. His name's Mark, by the way. So he brought me all the way, about half a mile down, turned around, he goes, I'll take you back. He put some cones out for me. And then we rang for a tow truck. So within 25 minutes, this guy arrived, Callum. I've got to say, it's got rapid response recoveries.
He was really
very rapid response. Within 25 minutes, he picked up the car, took us to Dunblane. He parked near the church on the side of the road. He checked it wasn't the fan belt. We checked it wasn't the battery, so we now knew it was the alternator. So he didn't have to do all this, but he did. And that was it. So that was Callum. He also told us his life story, as a lot of these drivers have done, which is wonderful.
It was nice to meet an actual Scot.
And he had a proper Scottish accent. Yeah. So that was Callum. Now we're now in Dunblane for the service, so we're late for the first bridegroom matins. His Eminence is there. Bishop Raphael is there. Father Antonius is there. Archdeacon George is there. So they're all there. Thankfully, we arrived with enough time to take some photos of the service. And once again, it was the church was so tiny. It was the size of our sitting room, to be honest.
I was particularly impressed by the fact that they had an actual candelabra. Is that how you say it? So it was real candles. It wasn't electricity on the chandelier.
It was beautiful. It really was good.
Yeah, really prayerful atmosphere.
Yeah, and then we had to now get from Dunblane to our hotel, which was near Falkirk. That's where Father, was it Caius Anton Gurgu? Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Who's Romanian.
Romanian father.
And he was with Breslet, so they gave us a lift to the hotel now. So now we're on Sunday late in the evening at some point. So we get to the hotel, and then the next day, Monday, we have to try and find a mobile mechanic. It was so difficult trying to find someone who was willing to come out the next day or that day.
So many phone calls.
So in between all that, what we then did, we then went to Edinburgh. We thought, let's go to Edinburgh. I highly recommend anyone going to Edinburgh from London. How old is it? It's
maybe 4 hours and a half with the rapid train.
Yeah. So we met Graham there. Graham took us on a tour of Edinburgh. And what was this called? It was the City Explorers tours.
Yes.
And he even took us to Edinburgh Castle when he pointed out his house in the distance. I'm guessing it was his house. I believe him. He seems like an honest person. True Scot.
Again, true Scot.
Proud of his city, proud of being Scottish. So that was Edinburgh. Now, I'm going to have to rush through because we've only got a few minutes left of the show, but there's a lot of sheets to go through. So that evening, we were in Falkirk for a service. So it was Father Gennaris, a Latvian priest, a new community, a young community, and quite a few people came up from Edinburgh as well in their kilts. So whilst we're outside, the Archbishop said, "Look, can I have a quick photo?" Great photo opportunity. They all lined up. We took this photo. A woman's walking past, and she goes, "Oh, is this an Orthodox church?" But they go, "Yeah." She goes, "I'm quarter Greek." So she was invited into the church. But before she came in, Bishop Raphael turns up. So the Edinburgh crew, loving Bishop Raphael, they go, that's Bishop Raphael. And His Eminence goes, "Well, I'm the Archbishop." So that was a little competition between the two. So, and then there was a tonsuring. Two of the chanters were tonsured. Amazing voices, all of them amazing voices. One of them was the son-in-law, or is the son-in-law of the priest. So that was great to see. He was there with his wife, with their daughter. So that we took some lovely photos on that day, and that was Falkirk.
From his lot delivered us, O Christ God, granting remission of sins to those who observe your immaculate passion with love.
Now, from Falkirk, we went to Leyland. Okay, it's a lot of. We went through and up. First of all, before we did that, we had the car repaired. Okay, so
finally
we had a mobile mechanic come from McDowell Auto Services Limited. A lady called Sarah rings me up. We can come down tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. My husband Peter will come down. True to their word, they came down. They picked us up from the hotel with all our luggage, took us to Dunblane, where he then fixed it. Within 30 minutes, the car was repaired. He told us his life story, as most of the drivers have done in Scotland. But he went through hell with COVID, his business, health issues, very serious health issues. He's lucky to have been alive now. And then he met Sarah, who's the administrative genius of his company, I'll say that, which he said, that wasn't not my words, Sarah, they're Peter's words, so be good to him. And this week or next week is their wedding anniversary, first wedding anniversary. So we have to both say to them, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
All right, Peter, you owe me one, mate. Okay, there you go. So that was our car repaired. Then we drove to Leyland. 3.5 hour drive?
Yeah,
Another church. So all of this was with the Archbishop, by the way. So we go to Leyland. Now, Leyland was another young group, young congregation, diverse nationalities. The main chanter was Malaysian. Amazing voice.
Beautiful.
And she doesn't even realise how good she actually is. So we had that service. That was Father Dionysus, an English guy with a brilliant Greek name. So he was there. You met a lovely woman called Molly who wants to be a chanter.
Yes, she wants to learn Byzantine music. So that was an excellent opportunity to tell her how she can do that. And she's really excited about this. And she was only baptized 2 weeks ago, together with
Yeah,
her
yeah,
fiance.
with her fiance, who was actually holding the book for
Both of
the
them
Archbishop
English,
to
yeah.
read from.
Yeah.
Did you know that he was reading? Yeah, that was a lovely touch. They were very warm, very welcoming, very friendly, which is what we expect from every Orthodox church or every church, full stop, to be honest. But there were more than others. I think I really felt so welcome there and at home. That's a very important thing. So that was Leyland. Then we had a 5.5 hour drive to Cambridge.
Instead of 4 hours.
It would have been 4 hours, but there were roadworks. So we went to Cambridge for the Holy Unction, Archbishop again. So he's doing the Holy Unction. And there was a lovely moment where he invited the children to come and kneel before him to say the prayer before, you know. He does that. He really brings a lot of these traditions back to our churches, because I haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
You know, until the Archbishop Nikitas came.
It integrates the children. I remember because he was saying that he's not bothered at all by the noise that the children are making.
Yeah.
Rather than the gossiping adults, he would be bothered, but not of the children.
So that was Cambridge, St. Athanasius Church, with Father Gregory, newly appointed Father Gregory, son-in-law of Father Christo at St. Luke's in Birmingham. So there's a massive family tradition now. So Father Christo is expanding, really. Which is wonderful. And Father Theophanos was there as well, who's a long-standing priest. He's one of the first priests I photographed. He was at St. Anthony's previously. I do love Father Theophanos. Now, so we've done Cambridge. Now we're back to London. 12 Gospels at St. Dimitrios. With His Eminence again. There was Father Nicodemus, Father John as well, all reading from the Gospels there. No tonsure, thankfully, because there was a lot of tonsuring going on throughout our time. And then St. John the Baptist for the taking down from the cross, the holy hours.
Very moving service.
That was, I must admit, I was crying when I saw Father carrying Christ. So yeah, enough said about that. Otherwise, I'd be crying even more. Then that evening we had the Epitaphio at Essex Monastery, at the new church of Essex Monastery with the Archbishop again. I had to be very careful with my photos. We're not allowed to show the icons or the walls or how it's painted yet until the consecration, which on the June 22nd. And the Archbishop said, he goes, I want thousands of people there, not just 100. I want coaches of people to come. He goes, I know the nuns don't want it, but I want it. Basically, he's the boss. So he wants it. So they want so many people at that church.
Because it's a true statement to the fact that we as Orthodox, we are so many, and especially with this latest mass baptism, our numbers are increasing, and we need to show that.
Yeah. Now then that was on Friday evening. We got back very, very late. Next morning we're up nice and early for baptism of 9 people and the chrismation of 1 person at St. Andrew's in Kentish Town. Then we had the service that followed with the earthquake. And I warned then Greece, they don't know this, they don't have this service.
In Romania, they don't.
Yeah, honestly, I think everyone should do it. So I warned the newly baptized. I said, you're going to get the shock of your life. Don't worry, this isn't every Saturday or Sunday. So during the service, when it's the Anastasi, to represent the earthquake, the Cypriots will bang the chairs. Now at St. Andrew's, the chairs lift up and down. So they're banging, 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 banging. The noise, I've never heard it this loud before in my life. It was beautiful. Even the newly christened were banging the benches as well, the seats as well.
Yeah, fascinated by everything.
It was and there was a diverse crowd as well. I can't remember all the nationalities, but there was Ghanaian, there was from Montserrat, there was from Congo, from Hong Kong.
As per your picture, 9 shades of Orthodoxy.
Yeah, 9 shades of Orthodoxy, and then that even back again for the Anastasi. Some of them actually returned for that service as well. They stayed until 3 in the morning with us, which was absolutely beautiful to see. And then the next morning we had the Vespers of Love on Sunday morning, where once again for the 3rd time I read out the Gospel in Sierra Leone Creole.
If una pardon anybody was sin, God will pardon the person there. iguanano pagin obunasin, godlo pagin akusute.
This is just to raise awareness, it's to let people know that other people exist. But there must have been, I can't remember, 12 languages that day?
Yes, from Armenian to Swahili
Yeah.
to Dutch, French, Italian,
Portuguese,
and so on.
the works, everything was there. Okay, that was a quick roundup of the church news. One last thing to finish with, Amagalma were at Clissold Arms. They sold out again, as always. So I think that's the. I'm exhausted just saying all this, to be honest.
It was a very full month, but
It
also
was.
very fulfilling.
It was, as you can see from my notes. Okay, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll see you next month for Table for Two.
Thank you.